Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Adventures of the Heart, building wisdom through experience. And we are here today with my co-host, Velin Hawkins, and we're going to be talking today about conscious relationships and which equal a conscious business, because everything that we do is surrounded and happens through relationship. And one of the biggest places where we have relationship is within our businesses. So we got a lot to talk about with that. But right now I'm going to introduce myself a little bit, and then I'll turn it over to Lynn. And I'm Cynthia Gardner O'Neill, and I am the founder of the Center for Loving Consciousness, which is a nonprofit that I'm creating right now to help wellness providers bring in a more well community. And with that, and how I'm doing that is through Harmonics. And Harmonics is a program and courses that I've created to help people start to get to know themselves, know more about their hearts and what their heart desires in this world, and to create a more meaningful life. I always say a healthy heart for a healthy mindset to be the life you love. And that's why we're here together, Lynn and I, because we've created a business called Heart Ventures. And I'm going to turn this over to Lynn so she can tell you a little bit about you, and I think she's going to share a little bit about our Heart Venture. So Lynn, come on in.
Thanks, Cynthia. Oh my gosh. I am so excited to be here tonight, and I'd like to welcome everyone in our audience, whether you're live or you're viewing us on replay. Welcome. We've got some really great information to share with you this evening, and before we do that, let me just tell you a little bit about me. I'm Velin Hawkins. I'm the founder and dean of the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship, where we teach entrepreneurs how to bring the social enterprise into their business. And it really is about, our responsibility as entrepreneurs is to earn income so that we can stimulate the economy. But the other piece of that is, how do we show that we care and that we care about others? We do that within our businesses, but then we do that by going a little beyond our businesses as well. And you have probably heard more about being in the social enterprise mindset lately in the past, I'd say, year or so, than you probably ever have heard before, because it's something that, while it started with the small business, it actually grew into something that the corporate environment was able to do just a little bit better, but really on their terms. And small business, the solopreneur, the serial entrepreneur, is actually stepping up to the plate and claiming more of the opportunity that social enterprise brings to the world, an opportunity for the business owner, for the business, for the customers, as well as for others that a social enterprise can reach out to help. And that's what we do in the P3 Academy. And in Heart Ventures, Cynthia and I came together because there was a realization that there was a lot of synchronicity in the work that we do. And in that synchronicity, there was also a heart for business and for life. And it revolved around relationship. It was the relationship that we established helping each other that grew into a relationship where we saw we could help others as well. And, if I had to define what a heart venture was, it would be rather hard to describe if I wasn't in one. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Heart ventures being conscious relationships, and that equaling conscious business. So before we move on into the content that we're bringing to you this evening, I'd like to tell everybody that we are doing a hang out with us after this show spot. So join us after the show. We will be posting the link to come into the Hangout, and you can come in, say hello, give us your feedback on the show, add any additional comments, or, inquire. How can we help you? How can we do something that's mutually beneficial? And how can we expand that to really think of it in the way of a social enterprise opportunity? So that said, I'm going to toss the ball back to Cynthia and let her kind of open up the conversation.
Well, thank you, Lynn. Gosh, this opportunity to speak to you about heart ventures. Heart ventures are the conscious relationship that we have with one another. And these days, I'm really having an experience with all kinds of heart ventures, all kinds of relationships of people coming into my life that are really listening to their hearts and wanting to know more about how they can be of service, because by being of service, we're actually creating a more meaningful life, not only for ourselves, but for others. And one of the things that came really clear for me is when I was looking at, finding some services that were available that supported my learning and my education, I was looking for products and services that weren't about what's in it for me. I was looking for products and services that provided me the opportunity to be of more loving service. And that's what I like to be with Loving Consciousness and with Heartmonics. It's about being of loving service for me. And I want to be with other like-minded people in business who are also doing the same. And again, I'm watching this shift in businesses where people, aren't going out there looking for the what's in it for me. Where's the big, where's the money coming in and all this other stuff. I think we're really starting to learn that we're starting to value things that are really of value to our lives, to the experiences we have with one another. And it's not just about, let's get this material thing and let's see how much money we have in the bank account. And that is what leaves the legacy. When you pass on, is the legacy that you leave how much money you have in the bank? I want you to think about that. What do you think about that, Lynn?
Well, I totally agree with you that there is a shift in the consciousness, especially I think entrepreneurs are one of the biggest groups that this shift is happening in. There are many people who don't even realize that, we've been in a state of what's in it for me, because that's what they were taught, that's what they know, that's, where they are, until that thing happens that they awaken to, it's really not just all about me. And, whether I'm a service provider or I'm looking for services, it truly is about the experience. And the experience transcends what's in it for me. And when I think about, how it is that we're growing, that we're emerging, evolving into doing business in the decade to come, we're looking at, this year, 2015, being the year of 8, in the infinity symbol, the year of infinite potential and infinite possibilities. And when you're thinking like that, Cynthia, yes, you don't think about what's in it for me. That thinking transcends what's in it for me and takes it truly into the experience. Did I have a good experience working with that vendor? Did I have a good experience being involved in this thing? Did I have a good experience? And even if it wasn't a good experience, you have the opportunity to look at the experience and say, what did I receive? What did I contribute? And could I have received more? What did it look like? How did it play out? What were some of the, and for conscious individuals, and I say conscious individuals because there are a lot of people out there practicing higher consciousness. They're practicing love. They're practicing being in the space of being of service. And it may not be in the context of entrepreneurship, but as entrepreneurs, we're seeing it from both ends. The service delivery on a macro scale as well as on a micro scale, and then as consumers as well, because we're hiring the resources that we're using in order to do bigger, better business. And it truly is on both sides, on every side. It truly is about the experience, the relationship, and the experience that comes out of it.
Yeah. And to add to that, that's why we have Adventures of the Heart, building wisdom through experience. And that's how we build our wisdom. That I always say, you know, as I mature, I find that I'm younger and wiser with age through my experiences, because the more experiences I have, you know, and I just had a birthday, and in that birthday, I throw that in, and I always say, you know, birthdays are good for you. The older you get, the longer you live. You know,
Yeah.
and they're all about receiving the experience so that I can be wiser. And that when we get wiser, we start trusting ourselves, and we make wise decisions for our health and well-being, for our relationships, for our businesses, for how we do service and show up in the world. And we learn how to do it even better. Now, what Lynn was saying about having experiences, and even if you don't have such a great experience maybe with something, maybe someone's customer service or something went wrong, instead of losing it and getting all bent out of shape, which creates a negative energy, which really hurts you. It doesn't hurt the other person. It hurts you. It stresses you out. You're only hurting yourself. Is to look at it and say, okay, why is this happening, and what is it I need to learn in order to make my life easier? And I have received some information, you know, I just call it, you know, intuitive, you know, inner wisdom from the source comes in information all the time. And one of the things that I received is that we're all born with an agreement. And that agreement is to receive. All life has to give, all of it. The good, the bad, the ups, the downs, the challenges, the ease. You know, got to receive it all. All life has to give, and to transform it into something even better. Why? Because you can. We can. This is the empowerment of free will and choice. And our hearts, when we're in this place of venturing with the heart of others, connecting our hearts to each other, which in science now, you know, they've done lots of studies with the heart, that everything begins in the heart. And it happens far beyond when we feel it in the physical. So the heart's able to send messages to the brain, so the brain makes its adjustments to do what it needs to do. But everything begins in the heart. So I always say, the state of your being, let it be love. When you're in that harmonic, coherent frequency, you actually make wiser choices, you trust things, and you're able to have relationships with people because you're in a harmonic frequency. And when you get with others, you help them go there too. That's the best gift that you can give to others. That's the best service that you can give to others, is to shine your own light, your own truth, your heart's desire, and be there in a place of peace and harmony, so you can bring more of it into not only your world, but the world that's out there. And isn't that what we all would like to do with even our businesses? Why we create a business, to solve problems for people and help them have a better life? I mean, that's, you know, when I look at why I'm here today, it is all about that. It is all about leading a meaningful life that I contribute to this world. And Lynn, I'd love for you to share the 4 C's maybe we should share a little bit more about Heart Ventures and our mission and our vision.
I was just going to say that. You know, you talked about living a more meaningful life, and I can't think of a better way to frame that than talking about Heart Ventures. And what we've designed is your Heart Ventures and Heart Ventures for Business using the 4 C's. And each one of these 4 C's is a principle that is a thread weaved into the cloth, the fabric of successful business. And the first one is connect. So I'm going to give you all 4, and then I think we may talk a little bit about each one. But the thing that really strikes me is when you start talking about Heart Ventures for Business, you truly are talking about bringing yourself, your one heart and your one business to the community, to connect, collaborate, to create, and to contribute, which while doing that, and Cynthia mentioned this, transforming into something better, it actually transforms into becoming part of the collective. And becoming part of the collective, you're now looking at many hearts and many businesses contributing to the betterment of the world. And what more could you ask for than to be a part of something that is not only going to help you to grow personally, professionally, but your business to grow as well. And again, I mentioned it on the front side, the responsibility of every entrepreneur is first and foremost to consider bringing revenue in. Otherwise, your business is a hobby. It's not a business. If you are a business owner, that is your responsibility. And in fulfilling your responsibility, you may be creating jobs for other people. You are earning the income that can help to better support your family, and you're then more engaged in the economy with your ability to spend, as well as, you know, on giving. You're more able to give. And that's what Heart Ventures is all about. And it starts with connecting. And I have to tell this story about how Cynthia and I connected, because as I was doing my work and talking about the fact that I had written grants and helped people to, you know, move through the cycle of understanding how to become a nonprofit organization, and then structuring the strategy and building, and, you know, just thinking about growth and really educating entrepreneurs that the nonprofit isn't too much different than a for-profit business. Mm. The nonprofit and the for-profit, first and foremost, are responsible for driving revenue so that they can do the service that they've set themselves up to do. The only difference is in how the money is used. The for-profit business, you know, as a corporation, an LLC, or sole proprietorship, can determine what happens to the profit of the corporation or of the company. The nonprofit, on the other hand, all profit stays within the organization and spent on the mission of the organization. And, you know, when I think about the mission of Your Heart Ventures, it really solidifies what it is that every organization is about, and that is really sharing that which you are, that which you come into the entrepreneurial space to be and do, so that you can create and harmonize new relationships. And that's what takes business forward. And that's what we're doing. We're actually in place to help teach others to do the same. And it's really been an amazing journey so far, and we've just been on it for a short period of time. But Cynthia, why don't you speak a little to the whole connect aspect?
Well, I'm going to go with what you were just talking about, how we connected. Now, Lynn and I have never met physically, you know, face to face, except this is you know, how we have formed our relationship. This is how people are forming relationships today all over the world. We are international. We can have one of our best friends and the best partner that you could ever have, you know, like she's in Atlanta and I'm here in Colorado. Talk about connecting. And then we have this great place, the Hangouts on Air, you know, for us to see one another so that we can get that experience too. And, you know, from here, we're going to be planning on some, we have some wonderful opportunities that we're coming up. And I know Lynn's going to talk a little bit about our master class that's coming up, and it is about connecting, and it's about the whole master classes that we'll have is on the 4 C's, and it's called Fulfilling Your Potential. Is the full 4 classes that we'll be offering over the next, what, 4 months or something like that. Yeah. And you know, the first one is here in March towards the end, and we'll tell you a little bit about that. And it's about connecting. And here we are having this opportunity. Then I've also, during the summer times, I'm a wilderness outfitter. And I take people on retreats on horseback in the West Elk Wilderness of Colorado near Crested Butte.
Now, I want to go!
Yeah.
I want to go!
We're planning some really special retreats this year. And this is where we will come together, because this is going to be an opportunity for us to get with people, you know, in a small, intimate group, and we call it intimacy. Into me, I see. This is an opportunity for you to come in and be in the wilderness where we can find that connection with life, with nature, with unconditional love of who we are. We get to let go of what's been interfering or interferes with who we are, and we learn to understand that, you know, what is ours and what is someone else's, so that we can stand more on our truth and make wise decisions that are healthy for ourselves. So we're going to be offering those up. We have some great retreats coming up, and so we'll be sharing a lot of those through the days. So those are all about connecting with you and giving us, you know, we're having this opportunity to connect with each other. And how we met, though, was through Directions University, which is a really conscious university that Directions University that teaches about strategizing for online business, and really helping us really show up in the world and be of service. And guess what happened? You know, that I started in there. All of a sudden, Lynn shows up in there. We're also faculty members of Direction University, so we can help other people. You know, as a faculty member, I teach the mindset, service mindset, and because I love to be of loving service, and I love to help people learn how to be of love and service and make those connections. So I'm going to let Lynn tell you a little bit more, too, about some of that and about our masterclass that's coming up and what you're going to be learning in there about fulfilling your potential. And as she spoke of, this is the year of 8. If you total 2015 together, you get the number 8. 8 is the infinite possibility and potential. It's also a very feminine number. It's about bringing in more feminine energy so that we can create balance and harmony. That's what 8 is about, too. It's about loving consciousness. And this is what we're seeing happening in business today. Heart is coming back into business. Heart's always been there, but we've been unaware of our connection to it, because why do a business if it isn't something that you want to be of service to others with? Right, Lynn?
Right. Right. Oh, you explained it so well. And, you know, it occurs to me that, and you've said this quite often, we learn what it is that we are called to teach. And I think that it has become so evident in both of us. You with teaching loving consciousness and utilizing harmonics in order to do that, to bring that to the world. And me teaching the social enterprise piece of business, because I grew up in the grants world. I grew up with the desire to help build teams and build people to be able to contribute at a higher level. And that's what our master classes are. That's what they're designed to do. Fulfilling your potential. I mean, it says it all. And our first master class, Connect, we're actually looking at practically every means that a business can use to connect, we're delving into. And we started out by asking the question that, most people ask. How do I connect with my people? Where do I find them? When I find them, what do I need to show up as? And what do I say? What's my conversation? And then once I have this engagement and I'm starting to build this relationship, then what? And the master class, the Connect Master Class, which is the first of the 4 that we're going to be delivering over this year, actually dives into it in such great detail. I'm just so excited about some of the things that we're bringing to the audience, including the Native American wisdom with Chief Robert and Taltree and Terry Taltree, who are actually going to talk about relationship to family, relationship to the earth, relationship in business. And in business, before business was called business, the ancient wisdom saw the design of how relationship played into those things. And we're going to talk about story leverage. How does your story play into what it is that you're delivering to the world? And could you do something bigger and better, transforming what it is that you're already doing into something bigger? But you know what I like the most about what we're going to be doing? We're going to be getting into stuff like Hangouts on air, delivering your content over Hangouts on air. We're going to be talking about Skype. Most people think about Skype and think, oh yeah, I can call my mom, or I can connect with so-and-so because they're in England and I'm in the States, or Hawaii, or, across country. But did you know that Skype was a viable marketing tool for business? We're gonna investigate. And Blog Talk Radio. Heard about Blog Talk Radio all over the place, but have you thought about the strategy that could either get you on other people's shows or start a show of your own? And the whole social sharing around YouTube. YouTube has come to me to be such a greater, more amazing tool. And one of the more in-depth sessions that we're planning on having is around YouTube. And I'm so excited about that. But even with things like this, how do you establish a relationship, build on that relationship, and nurture it with ease? And there are some strategies that we're going to talk about in that regard as well. But Cynthia, even with this, I think about relationships, and I think about our conversation about the conscious conversation. And I loved the article that you talked about by Diane Collins about the new mainstream.
Yes.
And when you brought that up and you put that in front of me, my thinking was, yes, she hit the nail on the head, because she talked about this whole group of conscious individuals, and in our case, conscious entrepreneurs, that were hiding in the shadows. And not necessarily hiding, but just standing, waiting for somebody to turn on the light. You know what I mean? And one of the things that we have also purposed to do was to help people to stand more in the light as far as this conscious conversation, where we're out and out stating that while it used to be that the conversation was, well, what's in it for me? What do you have for me? What are you delivering to me today? It's now about how are you and how is business. And people who have been doing this for a long time are finding that their world is expanding because there are more people in this kind of conversation now. And when I look at this article, let me ask you, what was the most poignant point that she stated in this article. What was the point that you thought was the most intriguing that you wanted to talk about tonight?
Well, I'm going to pull that article up, but one thing that really stands out for me is she talks about also, the consciousness that's changing as far as around our economy, even, and doing business, and those kind of things. And I'm really seeing a shift, without looking at the article right there, but I just remember, seeing that being, the mainstream consciousness. And, consciousness means literally means unity of mind. So when we're using that, when Lynn earlier was speaking of us doing one heart, one business, moving into many hearts, many businesses, into the whole, the unity of mind, into that higher consciousness of us doing things together in a way that we value each other's contribution, we value each other in our connections with one another, in our relationship, in how we create together, and how we collaborate together. And it is really important to know that the value is what's going to shift the economy. And I've always said, my quote that I put out there a while back is when I heard people kind of getting confused about what their own value is, what kind of value they're bringing into the world, and what do they see as valuable in the world, okay? Is I say change your value by changing what you value. What do you value in this world? And when we start becoming clear about what we value, we're going to see this economy change. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have a hard time with this changing economy. The economy is changing in a way that, monetarily and the dollar really has always been energy. It's been a currency. And it shows up really that way too. But many of us who come from, myself, that's been something that I've been working with. And as Lynn was saying, one of the other quotes that I always say is, what I'm learning, I teach best. And right now I'm learning how to really live in this world, in this changing economy, with what I value. And I value relationships. And building wisdom through experience is we cannot have an experience without relationship to somebody or someone or something. You have to have a relationship, so we need to start valuing our relationships with one another. Even parents, you got to value your children in a way that you can show them that they're valued. People who have a business and you have employees need to feel that they're valuable. Because when you have employees in there who feel valuable, and you have kids that feel valuable, they don't go out looking for things that actually going out somewhere else looking for love, because they don't feel loved at home, they don't feel valued at home, or they don't have a contribution to the world. This is what relationships are all about. This is going to change the economy. We're a really good show that I really like, and I don't even know it's going to be back on, was Undercover Boss. And I love that show because I love how all of a sudden these people go into their, these CEOs go into their business, and all of a sudden they're recognizing that a lot of their employees and stuff don't feel so valued, and they're like going, God, how did I create a culture like this where my employees don't feel valued? And these CEOs are falling in love. Their hearts are opening and going, wow, I want to be, look at how they've given their life to my business to help my business grow. And how can I give them more meaning to, wanting to stay with me when they've given me so much of themselves? This is what we're seeing. This is how the economy is going to change. And for those people who are only basing their value off the money that they have in the bank, or the money that they're receiving in, or putting out, and how much they have, the more, quantity is no longer going to be the most important thing. It's about quality of life. So many people spend their health to get their wealth, and then they got to spend their wealth to get their health back. They work, and is that really living when you're not enjoying what you're doing? But it's time for us to take work, as Khalil Gibran says. He says, work is love made visible. This is what the kind of business and work and entrepreneur that I want to be. I want to learn how to be of service and create meaningful experiences for people so that they can do the same. Because when we feel like we're contributing to the world, doesn't it feel good that you're making a difference? It feels good inside, and each person, that's the compassion that's coming out in this world. And what compassion does is it helps you become younger and wiser with age. And I can tell you a story in a little bit about the Tibetan monks that who went through the trauma and when they were incarcerated by the Chinese back when. But I'll go into that in a minute, because I know I can see Lynn just really wanting. There's something that she wants to come in with, because I can feel her heart going, yeah, I want to come in here.
I do. I wanted to talk a little more about the whole energy and currency of money. There are so many entrepreneurs that I've worked with over the years who, especially in the healing arts, and arts in particular, unless you're making a lot of money, you're really in the space of making little to, maybe the medium level of income. And that has to do with how you see the story that you're telling yourself about how much others perceive is the value of what it is that you're bringing to their lives. And when I think about that and the number of entrepreneurs, myself included, I mean, I've walked through in my journey the spaces of valuing what it is that I did. And as long as I had that corporate shield over me, I knew my value. 6 figures and increasing. And, the number of years that went on only gave more in value to what it was that I valued in myself. Now I got into the entrepreneurial world and woof, things changed. And it truly was an awakening, and tends to be an awakening for entrepreneurs when they actually are separate from that which they connected their value to. And, I even look at the space that I was in. As long as I was doing my commercial real estate and making great commissions on leasing and sales, and it's nothing like selling a house, because you're dealing with entrepreneurs, not the single family homeowner. You're dealing with people with business mindsets, so the conversation's a little different. And as long as that was a part of my association with, or my attachment to my story that made me valuable, I was okay. And when the connection was severed due to a life experience, I experienced myself in an entirely different way. And it took me some time to come to the point where I saw what it was that I was bringing to the world and the value of what it was that I was bringing with 35 years in the corporate environment and lending, and the experience that I gained in grant writing and doing strategy sessions with nonprofits as well as for-profit businesses. I knew my value, but there was a disconnect between my heart and my brain. My mind knew the value, and I wasn't allowing my heart to say, or maybe it was my heart knew the value, and my mind was saying, but you no longer have this attachment. You can't say this, and you can't, and there was truly a space and time where, because of that disconnect, there was a disconnect in the revenue. And that disconnect in the revenue told me something. There was a story under the story about the value that I placed on myself. And even in the world today, how some business owners say, well, I have a hard time asking for money. I have a hard time closing the deal because I can't do the ask question. And that really is a space of valuing self. And, you know, when I look at the conscious crowd that's out there now, this is the crowd who's saying, I want to, if I'm not already standing in the space where I truly value who I am, I want to get there. I know that I bring value to the world and I want to get there. And how do I set it up where I not only ask for the dollars that equate to the value, but I ask for them in a way that I'm speaking and someone says, yeah, okay, let me write you that check, or here's my card. And there's not just a science to that. There's a methodology in getting congruency, the heart and the mind. And talk about connection. When there's a disconnect between the heart and the mind, and that incongruency is evident, you can tell pretty quickly in a person's conversation, in some of the things that they do, and their story is a great indicator of where they are. And we've just had an opportunity to go through a series of teachings, learnings about story. And one of my favorite people in the whole world right now is a guy named David Bullock, who brought to the world this whole concept of story leverage. And it truly is in deconstructing your own story, seeing the parts and the players, and then constructing it in such a way that you dissociate from the emotional attachment to your story, yet you can utilize your story to transform your life into something better. And for me, in the work that I do, that something better also includes you taking the opportunity to impact someone else's life for the better. It really brings about a whole nother conversation than what we've had in past. And it's just, it's amazing. It truly is what you talked about. Khalil Gibran's work is love made visible, because it involves your heart. And Cynthia, I know that, you know, in Harmonics, there's a lot of conversation around the heart and its connection with the brain, its conversation with the mind and the mind chatter, and you know, the little guy that's on your shoulder saying whack, 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 and this one that's saying woo, 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 and how that, you know, you're in the middle saying stop. Give me a chance to even hear one of you. And then we end up listening to the one that's telling us, oh, you don't want to do that. It's going to be too much work. You're going to have to show up and be the person that you want to stand in the shadows. I want to protect you. You know, is the heart in this kind of conversation? I would venture to say yes, there's an underlying reason for that. However, in bringing these two together, the conversation does change. And why don't you speak to that for a moment?
Well, my understanding of the heart is when it is coherent, you know, and in harmonic flow, which is its natural state of being. All parts of you, everything, is in harmony. When the heart is in discordance, it vibrates that discordance. And actually, you know, I've had people even in conversation here for this show who are, you know, a lot of people are have been trained with around the neurological brain cells, okay? And sometimes when they speak of the heart these days, they go, oh, the heart has neurological brain cells. No, the heart has neurological cells that are in the brain. The heart is 2/3 neurological cells, okay? Not brain cells, because the brain cell, the first brain cell that came, the heart was the first organ, and the next cell that came after the heart, you know, there's lots of different cells inside the heart, such as muscle cells, like I said, neurological cells, those things, so in order for the heart to do what it does. But it is the first organ. Then they said that what I've learned is the amygdala, which is the limbic system, and it's the, you know, the older the reptilian brain type thing where the emotions and everything are coming through, is the first cell of the brain. And so really the heart still is what, it's 60 times more amplified than any part of the body, even more than the brain. And it is 5,000 times electromagnetic than any part of the body, even the brain. So the heart actually is what feels first and then speaks to the brain. And the heart feels will have an experience far before you realize it in your physical being. And so it starts in the heart, and then the brain will do what it's here to do. So the brain, you know, they've been studying all these things that the brain does and how it affects the hormones and everything. Well, guess what? The heart does that first. The heart is a central communication center of every single cell. And yes, there was someone who, you know, and the conversation in there talks about I'm thinking the hypothalamus also, you know, sends out messages to all the cells and everything too. But that comes after the heart has done its thing, really. And I have the science, if you guys would like to receive some of that information. Actually, you know, HeartMath has done some really incredible studies. I mean, I love receiving their information. And they have a beautiful paper, if you go on there, it's called The Science of the Heart. And it talks about, you know, the emotions and the brain, you know, everything starts in the heart and then goes to the brain. It has all the science behind it and everything like that. So that is really huge for me to really understand how powerful our heart is. And I was earlier going to speak about the Tibetan monks, and this is really important for everybody to know, that the Tibetan monks, this is a study that was done, it was 4 years ago, I do believe, and there was Dr. Oz and Dr. Heyman, and I don't know if Deepak was there, but the Dalai Lama and stuff like that, where they went in and studied the Tibetan monks who were incarcerated and tortured during the, you know, when the Chinese came in and took over. And these Tibetan monks, many of them died there, and they were tortured and tormented, and they were incarcerated. And finally, the Chinese let the ones that were alive go, because the Chinese were the ones who were being tortured by their own torturing of others. And because the Tibetan monks still stayed in compassion. And so they set them free, and now these monks are living beyond their hundreds. And they're living vibrant, healthy, youthful lives. So this group of people went in to do research on, God, how can these people who've gone through such trauma be so youthful and everything, and living beyond their hundreds, you know, that you would even think after going through that kind of trauma that they would, you know, be vibrant and still be a lover of life, right? Well, through the physical studies and everything, what they found was that these monks were still making stem cells. They were still making stem cells. And making stem cells, we've been told that we stop making stem cells as we get older. But really, we stop making stem cells because of the stress we put ourselves under. And our incoherent hearts, our hearts that are in disharmony, really put stress on us. So with that, they started talking about, you know, having, so Dalai Lama was there, and Dalai Lama asked one of the monks, he said, what's the hardest thing that you went through while incarcerated? And the monk replied, my greatest fear was that I would lose compassion for my enemy. they continue to love their enemy. They continue to show compassion for them and forgiveness and mercy so that they could live their own lives and make a difference in this world. Because that's our greatest gift that we can give to this world, to love ourselves, so that, because we can't give what we don't have inside of ourselves. Each time some tragedy happens, you know, the compassion raises 100 times fold. So what we're seeing in the world right now, you know, the killings and stuff that we're seeing, you know, it's really important that we stay in our own light, that we find peace and harmony within inside ourselves so that we can make a difference. I hear Lynn always speaking of that that analogy of getting on a flight and getting ready to travel, and they talk about, you know, if something should happen and the plane should start going down and the mask comes down, you need to put it over your face first so that you're alive enough to help your children or anybody around you. So, you know, you have to put the mask on you first, because you're not any help to anybody when you're dead, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is so important to conscious relationships and in your business, you know, giving, you know, feeling that love inside yourself and why you're here, the contribution you have to give, the value you are. You know, your heartbeat is the signature sound of you. There's no one who has that. No one. It's unique to you, and the reason why you're here is that unique heartbeat is important to this world. You matter. You are valuable. And you have something to contribute. And we want to help you learn what that is. We want to help you really maximize who you are and have that meaningful experience in life that you can live beyond your hundreds and love being beyond your hundreds and be vibrant and healthy and at peace and harmony inside yourself, because you're making a difference in the world. This is the legacy we're talking about, leaving this world so we have peace and harmony. And guess what? When we start holding our light and that harmony is going out there, we harmonize the earth. You know, not just humanity, but everything else. And guess what? Abundance. We start rejuvenating and revitalizing everything. But every time that we contribute to judging others or saying so-and-so's doing bad, like that person really hurt that person, whatever, you're contributing to that frequency. You gotta, it starts here inside of you. You've got to find peace and harmony inside of you in order for you to help others. Mm-hmm. That's your greatest gift.
Mm-hmm. It truly is. And you know, Cynthia, the questions now coming up, you know, and people are looking for a new perspective on how to view this moving forward. Mm. You know, how can I contribute in a better way? I don't know how. They're actually awakening to the thinking, you know, is this all there is? And if there's more, where is it? How do I find it? Who's talking about it? What do I do? Where do I go? And because of that, this conversation is so important. And I just want to, I'm looking at the comments out here, and one of my favorite people in the whole world is out in our audience right now, and she's posted a comment. Josie James says that she sure validates the two of us and what we're doing. We've opened up a whole new window of opportunity for her. The conversations that we have and the things that we're doing with love and support delivered with feeling. She says we've actually helped her to make a shift. And I think that, you know, it's not just the conversation, Cynthia. It truly is the relationship that's a deeper connection. And that deeper connection can be over Google Hangouts or Skype, or, you know, finding the visual conversation on YouTube, because it truly starts with the connection. And when I think about, what are some of the things that promote the relationship building, we've all heard about the whole networking thing and the controversy around it. I mean, the controversy of how do I go to a networking event and show up and have the conversations that are meaningful? Well, okay, so you're telling me I have to set the intention, I have to do this, I have to do that. And I still don't want to do that because it seems like it's so much work and it's pretentious. You know what I mean? Versus somebody just finding the place that already feels comfortable and becoming a part in the space of comfort. What you were talking about in the heart congruency. And there's an awakening that's coming, that's in play now. I can't tell you the number of people that I've talked to that have said, I'm an entrepreneur and I feel like I'm out here by myself. There are reasons why home-based businesses are doing so well right now. It's because being in the corporate environment, people have really worked themselves into physical and emotional conditions that don't allow them to be in that space anymore, yet they have a heart of contribution. What else can I do? And then they find themselves stuck in the paradigm of trying to put their own mask on first, and they need help, and they don't know where to find it. And, it's conversations like this that are happening, that are the ripple effect. Because now someone else can have the conversation that engages with someone else, and it goes on and on. And it truly is bringing people into the space of knowing that the heart plays into not just the conversation, but the relationship. And the new mainstream, I keep going back to this article because even with the change in the point of view, it's awakening to the awareness that you can now tell a little bit more clearly who that person is that you associate with, that you have a connection with. And if you've ever walked into some place and you're just there, yet you find yourself standing next to the person that you sparked this conversation with, and you find out that this is like the best person, the only person in the room that really made a difference in your going somewhere, or you're being a part of something that's even online. And it's taking that adventure. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And so bringing up, that article about the new mainstream, I will be posting it in the comments so that you can access that. It's really important that you read that and have that understanding and find out whether you feel that you're a part of it, because that's what it asks. Are you a part of it? You probably are. But a lot of us still are in that place of transforming that consciousness for ourselves. We're feeling that we're changing. We're just not sure exactly what it is that we're changing or transforming. And that's why Lynn and I have Adventures of the Heart and the courses and workshops and masterclass that we're offering you all is so that we can help you in that process, in that transformation. And I just want to add to the conversation with Josie, who came in, and then we're getting to the top of the hour, so we're going to kind of close a few things out. We'll put some links in the comments and everything, and we're going to put a link to join us, and so we all can connect and have a conversation here, because we want to connect with you. We want to hear your feedback and how you feel about what's happening in this world, and what and to honor all that you're feeling right now, because it's important. No feeling, no healing. That's why we started off our second Adventures of the Heart was with Matt Pearlstein, And he was about teaching EQ, emotional intelligence, and what that all has to do with. And it is the balancing, because you brought up earlier, and I didn't quite answer that question about the balancing, the getting in the whole brain balance, the brain dominance thing, and where our emotions come from, and how they work together between the brain and the heart, and things like that. We will be teaching a lot of that, and I teach some of that, about brain dominance and the heart, and I call it, when we come into balance, it's like a divine chiropractic adjustment. So going back into connections, Josie James, who had spoken in here, that Lynn read her comment. Now, this is about how we make connections with people. It was really important to me. Josie, and she's an octave. What do they call it when they're in their 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah. She taught me that one. I'm sorry, Josie. I don't remember.
80s. Wise.
She put out a video at her age on yoga, and I was amazed. I saw this woman, I'm like going, but I could also see that she, this was new for her to be out on social and everything. So I reached out to her and said, how can I be of service to you? And then Lynn, she's being my partner, we started working together to help her she was putting together a course for Totalpreneur courses and her own courses for what she does, and she's also been an esthetician, and she's an amazing woman, this wisdom that's there, and we can't wait. We're going to have her on our show. You guys are going to love Josie. But it was about reaching out to people and saying, how can I help you? How can I be of service? Because I love what you're doing. I love who you are. And, it's that connection, and then that collaboration together. Then we create something together, and then we contribute to the world through our stories and who we are. I did the same thing with a company back in October, the Mendocino Film Production Company, where and that's how I met Matt Pearlstein, is I was searching for more information on heart and what people are doing around the heart. And I came upon this Kickstarter they were raising money to do a documentary on EQ, the smart heart, and that's emotional intelligence and the smart heart. And I reached out to them. I saw that they didn't get those funds that they needed for this documentary, but that means so much to me. It touched me because that's the information I want to get out to people. It's so powerful to learn this stuff. And I said, how can I serve you? How can I make a difference and help you raise the money you need to get this going and things like that? And I'm getting ready to leave tomorrow on a plane to California to go join them and to find out more about how we can put this documentary together to make a difference, how we can raise the money and market it and create a movement around EQ, because it's making a big difference, and heart. And so it's about, take that time, connect with someone, reach out and connect with them.
Yes.
Yeah, Lynn.
So I have posted the link to join us in the Hangout for the after show. And Josie says it's octogenarian is the word that you were looking for. And she says, when you talk about living to 100 and older, I felt that I might have been 10 years to get my message out to be of service to you youngsters. Now with this connection, we've given her another 3 to 5 years to be of service because she can get her message out sooner. So yeah. When you're asking the question, how can I help? How can I be of service? There are people who need to hear that, and grateful for the help.
Yes. So you too can reach out and say, how can I be of service to you? And a lot of times what we say is, what I'm learning I teach best, what I'm healing inside myself I heal in others. Loving yourself, you have more to give. And also that abundance factor, and even the money and all that stuff, everything, the currency, the energy is flowing. So we're going to put all of our information for our master class and how you can connect with us on joining us and getting that information. We're going to put the mainstream article in there, the new mainstream article. And what else? What else can we serve them with, giving them?
Well, we have a program that we're about to release that if anybody out there is an instructor to entrepreneurs, and you're trying to build a membership and need a membership site, or you need a platform to build your courses with, we've got some stuff there for you as well. So we're just encouraging you to stay connected with us and let us connect with you, because there are a lot of things that we're doing thinking of you. And we want to know, what else is there that we can do? How else may we serve you so that you can serve those you serve a little better, a little easier? I'm all about the ease and the grace and the flow. And when we can do that for ourselves and we can help others do that as well, we're flowing. So join us in the after show. Say that again.
I said peace and harmony. So
Yes.
for me to end this, thank you for joining us, and please join us in the after show right now, and just breathe deep into your heart and love yourself more today than you did yesterday.
And remember, open hearts, open hearts. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.
See you in the after show.